Hey guys, Debs here, bringing you a video on my LEGO Game Boy. I'd like to thank my friend Tyler for allowing me to borrow his original Game Boy. I'm very pleased with how this LEGO creation turned out. I think I just nailed a lot of the important details, and it's probably the best recreation of a system I've made out of Legos. As you can see on the face, I got almost every detail except for the speaker and like the lettering over here and whatnot. Now the lettering would have just been represented by like a blue plate or something. It would have just looked absolutely stupid. So I just didn't include it, and since I don't use stickers, you know, obviously I'm not going to use stickers. And the speakers I couldn't slant because I wanted to keep in this curve, which I would consider more important than the speakers in terms of detail. And since these pieces are kind of awkward and how you have to get them to match up square-wise, I just couldn't get in a diagonal speaker. The sides don't have any of the detail the actual system does, but I really could not have implemented them, so I'm not really too upset about it. And since it's just like a port and like two dials, it's no big deal. The top does have the little switch, although it's kind of a crappy approximation of it, since it's a lot bigger and doesn't slide at all. There's not much I can really do about that. For the back, the cartridge slot is the proper width, as you can see with me like attempting to put a Game Boy cartridge in it. But it's not the correct depth, which I tried very hard to implement, but I just couldn't get it, unfortunately. And it also has this little like grating on the back, as you can see here. And like the Game Boy itself, the LEGO Game Boy actually has batteries, as you can see there, which I think was just an awesome detail that I had to include. And the batteries in the actual system, they go positive down, then negative down, positive down, negative down. And it's the exact same for the LEGO Game Boy, positive down, negative down, positive down, negative down, which I thought was really cool. And the Game Boy itself, like the LEGO Game Boy itself, the batteries are just gravity. They're held in by nothing else. And maybe friction for some of them. I doubt all of them will fall out, yeah. The ones on the ends are kind of held by friction. And each of these batteries has like a stupid message, like Debs, or lag, or Deb, and nasty. Which, after I ordered these pieces, which these are Lego beads, which they're really, really fun pieces. After I ordered all the ones I needed to make the batteries, I realized I could have like spelled Mario and Samus and Link and stuff like that. So that was a huge missed opportunity. But oh well, maybe one day I'll order some more beads to do that, but it's not really a huge deal. Let me get those tiles out of the way. Now this system kind of breaks down just into 3 parts. It's held in by this kind of locking brick up here, and these neck brackets are just slotted in and held in place by the locking mechanism. And so you just kind of need to wiggle the sides off pretty much. That's one side down. And there we go. So the screen area, I really like the trans yellow. That's a very fitting color for the original Game Boy's kind of ugly screen. And this isn't really too complex, even though it might look like it. There are brackets on the side to hold in the other sides. And then the inverted brackets here serve to attach it to this area over here where there's some 1x1 bricks with one stud on the side, and then there's a 2x6 plate and some elbow pieces to connect it here and down to there, which is connected by another bracket which you can't really see. And so that area isn't really too complex, and then obviously the battery cover connects here. The screen itself is, you know, fairly straightforward building. I did it upside down for no reason other than just to have the cheese slope to be actually connected, not just loose fitting. And this little brick right here prevents the screen from being pushed up when this creation is completely assembled, which happened before I put it in there. So now this side is fairly simple. I guess now would be the proper time to explain these kind of inverted brackets and why I have them. They fix a half plate offset with the screen, and originally for the screen I would have had to attach the bricks actually to the siding here, which means the top part of the Game Boy would either have to be 2 studs thick or 1 stud thick, which if you look at the actual Game Boy, the top of the screen is 4 plates high, which means 1 stud thick would just be way too thin, and 2 studs thick would be too thick in my opinion. So, to avoid that, I went to great lengths to snot the side just so I could have the top be 3 plates, not even 4, just 3, which I think made a heck of a lot of difference. I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think it looks a lot better being 3 plates rather than 1 stud or 2 studs in thickness. So it was definitely worth it. And the little headphone jack area, which I'm pretty happy I actually got the half circle on the system. I had another idea for the actual, I guess, jack part, this little black area, but it was kind of a bad idea, and Nick Brick suggested that I use just the 1x1 studs in a grill tile, and that just works fantastically. That was just a great idea on his part, and I'd like to thank him for that. And then you just kind of lock it into place with this top part here. Simple as that. Now for the, oops, hold on a sec. Now for this side, which I just accidentally hit one of the start and select buttons. Okay, there we go, I recovered. This side is probably the most complex side, but still really not too complex in my opinion. The start and select buttons I went over in a LEGO Super Nintendo controller video, so I'll just post a link to that, because describing it again would be a pain, and it's also really hard to deconstruct. Or it's not so hard. It's pretty easy to deconstruct, it's pretty hard to reconstruct. You can kind of see how I did it with minifig neck brackets and cheese slopes. And, I don't know, there's not really much to say about this. There's a lot of pieces going in different directions, but I think it's pretty straightforward as to why they're going in different directions. Like, this area is going that way just so it can meet up evenly with the little bracket button pieces or whatever. Or the bracket holds a plate which holds the buttons. And there's this new piece released, which is this like 1x6 by, I think, 3 bricks high thing with 3 studs on the side, which is excellent for snotting stuff. It is wonderful. I absolutely adore this piece now. I mean, it's a little big, but when you're making something that's already kind of big like the Game Boy, it's super, super useful. And the only thing I feel I need to explain is why I snotted these pieces with the studs going that way, to the left, that way. Since the inverted brackets cause a little half-plate offset, I needed to fix that half-plate offset. But I also needed this cheese slope to evenly like rub up against this, as well as not to have a bump here, because if that was just a 1x1 brick with stud on the side, there'd be a little bump. I had to avoid that. So I was like, well, a headlight brick would be an obvious solution, because the headlight brick would leave the brick down, would leave the slope down a bit, and it also has this little bump on the end which can fix half-plate offsets, which this is a half-plate offset right here. So if I were to do it the other way, the little half-plate offset fixer that headlight bricks have would be facing the wrong way. So I had to snot it all the way from this side over to here to fix that half-plate offset and to have this slope in the right place. Now all that's left is for me to reassemble this, which can sometimes be a pain. It's usually not too bad, but and I've broken down this LEGO Game Boy a lot of times because I was kind of toying with the idea of getting some like life lights and feeding them into the screen or whatever. But the original Game Boy doesn't have like a backlight or anything. And plus it would have been like $20 to get one small enough, and I was just like, that does not sound appealing to me. I did end up getting some life lights though for something else I'm working on. I feel like... Okay. And then you just slot in the minifig neck brackets. Then put in this kind of lock-in mechanism. batteries are probably the most annoying part to get in. The middle ones like to roll around a lot, which kind of causes some problems occasionally, depending on what order you put them in. And then the little gray tiles just slide on in between. Which, yeah, it causes them to pop up occasionally. So you just put on the back. And I guess one more mention I should say, or one more thing I should say, is this little curve doesn't allow this to be 2-plate thick at all parts of it. So I had to just leave one area one plate thick so it'd fit on properly. Because as you can see, it kind of goes over it a bit. And that is my Lego Game Boy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now all that's left for me to make is a Game Boy Micro. I'll see you guys next time.